Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depend of course from where you're listening to my voice. Good to know you're all listening to me. Good to know you're interested in matters concerning Biafra. And that is why we make these audios. That is why we do these videos because we want people to be aware. We want to give people a blow by blow account of what is happening in the United, redeclared United States of Biafra. We want people to know what is trending. We want people to know what is happening to our personalities and our leaders. And of course, today's audio will not be an exception. Yes, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're looking forward to rounding up the last few hours of the month of September. And we're moving into October in less than maybe for another 48 hours. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to come your way. I wish you, you know, a happy new month in advance. So, for this morning, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be looking at Nnamdi Kanu. Appeal court asked to set aside Abuja court ruling over grave legal errors. Once again, the title for this audio this morning is Nnamdi Kanu. Appeal court asked to set aside Abuja court ruling over, quote, grave legal errors, unquote. Appeal court asked to set aside Abuja court ruling over, quote, grave legal errors, unquote. Yes, and I think it's very important at this stage to, let our listeners know that a human rights lawyer, Mr. Christopher Chidera, has faulted the recent decisions of Justice James Kolawole Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, insisting that the ruling in the case against indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, is riddled with inconsistencies and undermines the rule of law. Justice Omotosho had on Friday declared that Kanu has a case to answer on terrorism-related charges, despite what critics described as serious flaws in the prosecution's evidence. Reacting in a media statement, Chidera said, the judgment, quote, departs sharply from established legal principles and underscores a troubling trend of prioritizing executive interest over justice in Nigeria's courts, unquote. The lawyer accused the judge of concentrating solely on the charge sheet while ignoring the weaknesses exposed in the prosecution's evidence during cross-examination. He noted that such an approach runs contrary to Supreme Court precedents, which require trial judges to determine whether prosecution witnesses have been discredited. Chidera also faulted the court for permitting charges to be pursued under the repealed Terrorism Prevention in bracket Amendment Act 2013. According to him, quote, prosecuting under a defunct statute is not a mere technicality. It renders the entire case a legal nullity. Section 122 of the Evidence Act 2011 obliges courts to take judicial notice of repealed laws, unquote. He argued further that the ruling contravenes Section 3611 of the 1999 Constitution, which protects citizens from self-incrimination by declaring that Kanu, quote, has a case to answer. Chidera said the court has effectively shifted the burden of proof from the state to the accused. Quote, collectively, these errors reveal a disturbing pattern. The judiciary in Abuja appears more committed to sustaining a politically motivated trial than upholding justice. Courts must serve as impartial arbiters, not as instruments of executive will, unquote, he maintained. Chidera urged the Court of Appeal to urgently revisit the judgment and correct what he called, quote, egregious legal errors, unquote. He also called on the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, and the National Judicial Commission, NJC, to investigate recurring lapses in judicial procedures in the case. Beyond Nigeria, the lawyer appealed to the international community to closely monitor the proceedings, arguing that the government's handling of Kanu's trial violates obligations under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, in bracket ICCPR, and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The ruling, critics say, raises fresh concerns about the impartiality of Nigeria's courts and the country's commitment to upholding fair trial standards. Ladies and gentlemen, that is in a nutshell, a synopsis of the trial or people's observation of the last trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, where Justice James Omotosho of the Abuja High Court, insisted, that the ruling, that's the ruling. I mean, they insisted that his ruling on the case against indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, is riddled with inconsistencies and undermines the rule of law. Justice James Omotosho had on Friday declared that Kanu has a case to answer on terrorism-related charges, despite what critics and everybody describe as serious flaws in the prosecution's evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, if a lot of you had listened to us in previous months and in previous weeks, we have told you how Justice James Omotosho allowed masked witnesses who came into the court to give evidence and evidences against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They were hooded, they had things in their mouth that made sure nobody recognized their voice. And when Justice James Omotosho was asked, why the hooded witnesses? Why are there masked people here? He said, of course, these are DSS operatives who work incognito, who should not be recognized, so that, of course, they are not supposed to be recognized because of, threats to their lives, possible threats to their lives and all that. Of course, the whole world was astonished because it was about the first time that this kind of masked witnesses came up in such a high-brow case. It was totally against judicial, practices in advanced climes. And so Justice James Omotosho, originally, who said Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had suffered so much in detention, James Omotosho, who said, I feel for you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I think your case should have been ended by now. And equally the same Justice James Kolawole Omotosho, who said, Nnamdi Kanu, I'm with you all the way. I'm going to make sure your case does not linger any further. I mean, Justice James Kolawole Omotosho said all this in the full glare of journalists, of court attendants, of people, of the mass media, and these statements and these postulations were fully and vigorously spread around the mass media. It's unfortunate that the same Justice James Kolawole Omotosho could allow hooded witnesses that turned his high court premises and high court at Abuja to a gangster's paradise. I mean, we know it's gangsters who wear masks. We know it's gangsters who wear hoods. It's gangsters who try to hide their voices to sound differently and to sound like they are not the ones. So it's very unfortunate. These same witnesses, these same people who are hooded up, who are masked up, were allowed to come and give disparaging, totally false, and many times exaggerated evidences against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And so on Friday, penultimate Friday, the 26th of September 2025, when the resumption of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case at High Court 7 under the Justice Kolawole James Omotosho. The same James Omotosho came to say, yes, James Omotosho said on Friday he had declared that Kanu has a case to answer on terrorism-related charges, despite what critics describe as serious flaws in the prosecution's evidence. So, ladies and gentlemen, Barrister Chidera, yes, Christopher Chidera, a human rights activist, and a man who has followed continuously and endlessly, who has followed the persecution, the mistrial, the trial and mistrial, and all the, errors involved in the handling of, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case. He has come out to say, no, 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 this is not right. Mr. Christopher Chidera has faulted the recent decision of Justice James Kolawole Motosho of the Federal High Court Abuja, insisting that the ruling in the case against indigenous people of Biafra IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu is riddled with inconsistencies and undermines the rule of law. Reacting in a media statement, Christopher Chidera said, the judgment, quote, departs sharply from established legal principles and underscores a troubling trend of prioritizing executive interest over justice in Nigerian courts. The lawyer accused the judge of concentrating solely on the charge sheet while ignoring the weaknesses exposed in the prosecution's evidence during cross-examination. He noted that such an approach runs contrary to Supreme Court precedents, which require trial judges to determine whether prosecution witnesses have been discredited. Chidera also faulted the court for permitting charges to be pursued under the Repeal Terrorism Prevention Act 2013. According to him, prosecuting under a defunct statute is not a mere technicality. It renders the entire case a legal nullity. Section 122 of the Evidence Act 2011 obliges courts to take judicial notice of repealed laws. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's very glaring, totally clear. Yes, indeed, very clear that Justice James Kolawole Motosho is dancing to the gallery. We said it here, and we encourage him to be sincere, to be just, fair, and, magnanimous in his judgment, because we have noticed that back to back, all through the charges of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, beginning from when the PMB was president, the late PMB, there has been an executive interest in his matter. What I mean is that it seems the government at the center has always determined, has always orchestrated, has always influenced judgments against him. And we had hoped that with Justice James Kolawole Motosho coming on board after Justice Binta Nyako recused herself. Yes, you remember Justice Binta Moritala Nyako recused herself from the case after Mazen Nnamdi Kanu said and completely, bitterly told the whole world that he would not get fairness in Justice Binta Moritala Nyako's trial. Because, of course, but Justice Binta Moritala Nyako had showed eminent, obvious, and very conspicuous bias and prejudice against him. And she seems to be more interested in, satisfying the junta, the cabal, the Jagaban, and his acolytes, satisfying them so that they can tamper justice, tamper mercy in the justice against her son and husband who are at the EFCC facility for trial. I mean, the husband, former governor of Damawa State, Vice Marshal Morotala Nyako, retired, has been, accused of several misdemeanors, financial, political, and economic, and is cooling in the EFCC coffers. Of course, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, said bluntly, clearly that Justice Moritala Binta Nyako would have a prejudiced attention towards him because she wants to do everything possible to satisfy the junta. Fortunately and accordingly, Justice Binta Moritala Nyako recused herself, and the case was once again thrown back to the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Justice of Nigeria appointed Justice James Kolawole Motosho to take over the case. And we thought when he came out, preaching good news, preaching, apologizing to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu for the long detention when he came out saying, "You are a man like me. I know your family has suffered terribly. I know your business has suffered, terribly. I know your health has suffered terribly. And I want to make sure that everything we do in this court, beginning from now, will be done expeditiously, quickly, and without any fear or favor." But it would appear, following the 26th September Friday court session, where Justice James Omotosho, Kolawole Omotosho, upheld what gangster witnesses and masked witnesses said and claimed, alleged against Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. We are all aware that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's defense attorneys, the person of Chief Agabi, Chief Kanu Agabi, two-time Minister of Justice, two-time Attorney General of the Federation. This gentleman had completely argued that masked witnesses and whatever evidences they brought were totally false and pretentious, and they should not be relied upon. He said, "How can a man you are not seeing? How can a man, his voice you don't recognize? How can somebody who is masked and hooded up come and say, I was with him, I arrested him, we got suitcases filled with clothes, filled with boxers, filled with creams and perfumes, we got this, we got that, we saw a woman with him in the hotel, we saw blah, blah, blah." He said this were arrant nonsense, and lacking in truth. They are bereft of truth. And we had thought at that point in time the matter had been sealed because there was vigorous opposition to masked gangsters acting as witnesses for the prosecution. Ladies and gentlemen, it is obvious Justice James Kolawole Omotosho has danced to the cabal. He seems to equally have reasons to want to place the Jagaban and the junta in Nigeria against the IPOB leader and against the Biafran people and everything that Biafra represents. Ladies and gentlemen, Barrister Christopher Chidera has said it all. The court has effectively shifted the burden of proof from the state to the accused. I mean, the gentleman has told you, "I don't know these people." Mazen Nnamdi Kanu said it widely. Why he wasn't scared? He wasn't in any way perturbed. He said, "All these people who are claiming to have been the ones who arrested me, to have been the ones who picked me out, they said they saw this, they said they saw that. There's no element of truth in that. I don't know them. I've never heard them. I've never seen them. If they want me to know them, if they want me to identify them, they should come out in their true colors. They should come out unmasked, unhooded, and they should remove this apparatus they put in their mouth that makes them sound like robots." That was what Mazen Nnamdi Kanu said. And of course, James Omotosho, he was laughing and chuckling on that day because, of course, he felt what Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was saying, was a bit funny, or was maybe melodious in his ears. But we are really shocked. We at the Biafra Superstars Media, we are shocked that Justice James Omotosho, despite these glaring anomalies, despite witnesses that were hooded up, that were maxed up, and who were speaking with voices that sounded like Robocop, like Robocops and robots, James Omotosho could still uphold and upheld that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has case to answer, because, of course, he is listening to the masked witnesses presented by the prosecuting attorneys. Ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious that the government has an axe to grind with everything Biafra, with people like Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, with people like Simon Ekpa, and of course, in recent time, they are also doing everything possible to extend their hands and grab Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, the Deputy Prime Minister, who is at the head of affairs of the redeclared sovereign state of Biafra. Everything Biafra is now put in a very tight situation because the government, the Jagaban, the man who said it is my turn, they are all waiting. They are all looking forward to when they will free Biafra under their feet. God forbid, ladies and gentlemen, God forbid, God forbid, because we know we serve a living God, because we know, of course, that yes, the enemies might come from one direction. There may be multitudes, there might be many. But when Yahweh speaks, when Yahweh is beside us, there will these enemies who came from one direction will run from 7 different directions. We know today, yes, they are like the Philistines, tall like Goliath. They are huge, they are gigantic. Yes, the oppressors of Biafra, the oppressors of Nnamdi Kanu, the oppressors of Simon Epp, and the oppressors of Dr. Ngozi Arabweze, and all those people who are against Biafra. They are like the Goliaths of this world. They are like the Philistines Goliaths, uncircumcised Philistines. Yes, but we represent God. We represent Yahweh's children. We represent the chosen ones. We are David's children. And we know when our God is with us, we shall defeat these Goliaths. We shall defeat these Goliaths. No matter how jagaban they are, no matter how much they say it is their turn, no matter who they bring on board, masked men, masked soldiers, Boko Haram soldiers, people who are bandits, people who are terrorists, who they have rehabilitated, reintegrated into Nigerian armed forces. No matter how many of them they bring, they will come from one direction. But when they get to Biafra land, when they touch Biafra children, they shall run from 7 different directions. That is our prophetic language. That is our prophecy. That is where we channel all our hope and aspirations to. We know when Yahweh is for you, no one, not even the world, can get you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's unfortunate Justice James Omotosho, of course, is presenting, is pursuing, and is trying to achieve, yes, the agenda of the oppressors of Biafra land, the agenda of the oppressors of Igbo land, the agendas of those who don't want Biafra to breathe, who don't want us to take a breath of fresh air. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Biafrans, fellow freedom lovers, they are in for a shocker. Can you repeat that with me? They are in for a shocker. The Jagaban is in for a shocker. All his acolytes are in for shockers, including so-called Justice James Kolawole Omotosho, and all the justices. Because no matter what they do, no matter what they say, like the mustard seed, we are going to branch out. We are going to be so gigantic. Biafra will be so gigantic that they will look at us with awe. They will look at us with fear. They will look at us with astonishment. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. And the redeclared United States of Biafra shall wriggle out, shake its wings like a bird that just came out from its eggs. Shake its wings like an eagle that is learning to fly. And then zoom into the air. Biafra will fly, and fly, never to fall again. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage us this morning. Yes, they hold aces. Yes, they have the court. Yes, they have the judiciary. Yes, they have the army. Yes, they have the DSS. They are in control for today. But that is for today. Nobody is in control forever. The adult who takes the baby's doll, who raises his hands up, preventing a baby to have his dolls. By the time his hands begin to shake him, by the time the hands begin to pain him, by the time fatigue sets in, he will lower his hands. And of course, the baby will collect his doll and happily walk away. That is the scenario. Yes, the Nigerian government, this failed government, this contraption called Nigeria, yes, this shithole is holding Biafra, holding what is ours, what is dearly ours. They've taken it beyond our reach for now. But soon, their hands will begin to pain them. Soon, fatigue will set in. And of course, that hand will fall down. It will fall, and Biafra will take what it is. We have support from international lawyers. We have support from European communities. We have support from the Americas. We have support from international bodies. And of course, we have the support of the 47th President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump. Everybody is watching keenly, watching Justice James Omotosho, watching the Federal High Court, watching even the Jagaban. We will see where this will take us. It's just a matter of time. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu endure this, endure it even with a failing health. God will be with you. Simon Ekpa, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yes, we'll get there. It's just a matter of time. All these things are temporary. Yes, what we are facing now is just is the preliminary. These are preliminaries because we're going to walk into stardom. Biafra, USB, United States of Biafra. They already declared United States of Biafra. We'll walk into stadium. We'll walk into excellency. We'll become a full-fledged sovereign nation. And we shall shame this contraction that has refused to grow. It will be 65 years. Yes. This shithole, this rat race. Yes. It will be 65 years in 2 days' time. And yet it is still crawling. A baby that is still crawling at 65. God forbid. Biafra shall never be like this. How can a baby, how can a man still be crawling, learning his legs, learning his footings at 65? Shame, shame. Ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it here. God bless you all. Thank you.
Yeah, check me out. Superstars Media. Lord Logan, Bloomington, Lord Logan, and it's Wild Flora Show. 1914 amalgamation is what we dying for. 3 nations to 1 nation, ever since annihilation. Nepotism is nonsense. You and you, clap your hands. Biafra gonna come, clap your hands. Biafra, Ojukwu, we're free now. Freedom is gonna come, we're free now. Yeah.